Hi everybody, Norman Van Aken here with the Treasure Book series. Today's Treasure Book finds me in the kitchen, and what a perfect place to be because this book drove me into the kitchen when I first got this book. I was already cooking a lot, but the authors of this book are Susan Feniger and Mary Sue Milliken, oftentimes known as the Two Hot Tamales. They broke onto that Food Network situation and blew minds with their energy, enthusiasm, and fun. But this book predates that, I believe, by at least a year, if not more. And I was fortunate to find the book because they hadn't become famous yet. Something about the universe maybe led me to it. It came out in 1989, and I was interested to see right away that they were both Midwesterners like us, and like me, and my family, and but they had moved to Los Angeles after working for a really exacting Frenchman, or perhaps he was somewhere else in Europe. I'm not sure how you say his last name, but it's like Hovan Trabajevic. Sorry if I really butchered that, but he was known in the city of Chicago for his elegant restaurant Les Nomades. First edition cookbook. I always like to see that that's happened. Let me see here. Where are we going to begin? I just love this sweet picture of them. They're still so telegenic and cute and beautiful and happy and teaching and sharing all they do. Mary Sue and I did a dinner in Nova Scotia past year on behalf of Charlie Trotter and the debut of the now on Netflix series Love Charlie, the documentary, and there's Susan Feniger, who's on TikTok and doing great. Let me just read this part to you. City cuisine is food that speaks to you with assertive flavors, textures, and colors. It is the result of a partnership not only between two dedicated chefs, but between two worlds of cuisine. After 10 years of rigorous training in French kitchens, our sensibilities were shocked by visits to India, Mexico, Thailand, and Japan. We saw food being transformed from its most essential and primitive forms into country dishes with spirit and heart. The science and technicality of food preparation that we had been trained to follow was augmented with a cultural cooking tradition that demanded attention for its uniqueness and quality. This spoke directly to my heart because I was also right at this intersection where I'd come up following the French methodology and the technique, and thank goodness I did because it gave me a place to stand and understand cuisine and then be able to adapt, which is the gift of a cuisine like French cuisine. But I was living first in Key West, but then in Miami, and cooking on Miami Beach. They had precise technical understanding of food, but because of the impact of their travel, they began to put ideas down on paper that were pretty radical for this period of time, the late 80s, the early 90s. And I think that's why they became such a sensation with their food, was they were speaking with this new evolutionary sort of way of looking at the world. That weren't parochial mindset where they were wrapped only in XYZ cuisine place, which is nothing wrong with that. But we needed to blast off in American cuisine, and they helped do that. Here's a Chinese sausage salad. Here's Puna pancakes. Right there, I remember I was cooking at the restaurant at the Betsy Ross Hotel. I had two restaurants, one on one side of the lobby and one on the other side of the lobby. The one side, the more casual, lower price point side, was called the Stars and Stripes Cafe. I didn't name it, but it was the Betsy Ross Hotel, so the person who owned the hotel was feeling quite patriotic in naming it that. As a little side thought here, when I was informed that was the name of the restaurant, I really had to wonder how I was going to convey my food through that name. But then in a leap of imagination, I could visualize the person, caricature, Bessie Ross, on a rocking chair on the front porch of the Bessie Ross Hotel, but with a Walkman and listening to music. And that helped me come forward into the 20th century, 21st century. Yeah, it takes a flight of fancy sometimes. I remember feeling, after going through this book, I think I went through it in a flurry one afternoon and just tore through it. And then I made these notes. Check it out. This is a piece of paper from back then, 1989 perhaps, in the handwriting of that time that I had. And I wrote city cookbook ideas that look good. Well, they look better than good. I wrote them down at least, referenced them by the pages. And this was a way for me to learn because I hadn't gone to cooking school and I hadn't worked with somebody tremendously famous at all. But I wanted my team, my small staff, to also feel that energy of this cookbook. I was a little bit like the gauntlet kind of had come down, and I felt the challenge of these two vibrant chefs from California doing what they were doing. I needed to find a way of doing that with Florida. And so that's what I began to certainly accelerate and do, motivated by this book, City Cuisine. Great, great, great people, great blurbs on the back of this book. I looked it up this afternoon. I didn't see it in hardcover on Thrift Books, but I did see it in softcover, and the recipes are the same, hardcover or softcover. And so you could find this book for $6 or less. And I'm sure that Mary Sue and Susan would appreciate that. The work that they put into this would continue on through today by people like yourselves cooking out of City Cuisine. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great afternoon or whatever time it is. Bye-bye.